welcome back to Factorio. We are basically almost done now, so today is going to be a bit of a show and tell. I look like Robocop 2, you know, the failed one that shot itself. Just realised that really does look like that. Anyway, so I think we're done on Vulcanus, almost. I think there's only a few things left to do. Behold, slab 1. This is where I live now. I like to think of this as kind of something dropped from space. I always like that thought that you would have some orbital platform that maybe you could land, and maybe that's where they'll go one day with it. But to me, I wanted something that had sort of a feeling of built in space, dropped onto the planet, and you can see we put sort of little steps down, quite like that. So this is it, and everything kind of extends from here, really. So we have our kind of, you know, command, whatever that is, you know, the landing pad, effectively. We then have a lot of sort of rubbish that we're sort of slowly working through, and we're actually recycling quite a few bits as well, because there's just no point. I like the idea of keeping the thing tidy. We then have a bus. And then I was going to create something that meant you didn't have to use bots at all. But I thought, because once you've built the things, they tend to not then need much work. I kind of left it. I may do something here. I may automate this, but or rather not automate with bots, but, you know, belt it. Because it's really the only thing that I'm using quite extensively, actually, is these legendary substations. So we'll probably leave that running because we do need them. Everything else, I would say, is pretty much good. Lots of room for activities, so we've got lots yet to still put in. This is going to be set up so that when we have our belt production, which is done over here at the moment, these will just be fed via belt to here. So anything that we export from here, which, again, for the life of me, I can't actually remember what we export, but let's have a quick look. Actually, I think we can tell this. So it's this one, I think. Is it this one? No, which one is it? It's one of these. The base. Oh, there we go. So this is what we're exporting currently. So we'll just make sure that these are being fed to the site, you know, the rocket silo. As we kind of then zoom out, so we have our slab 1. We then have a number of train stations that feed it. So here we have just some sort of very quick things. This is more to kind of get rid of surplus as well. And then what we have over here is our copper train. So this is where we have all of our copper and water. I did set up a rather large water section, but in the end I didn't really need it. So this has turned out to not be terribly needed. We then have our liquid iron or molten iron trains. And again, probably need a few more of them. But this is then when things are delivered. So we have effectively a cargo delivery now. So we have all of the things that we're producing out in the wild that are now being delivered, fed onto belts, and rather pretty that, and then fed through to the base. And then we also have things being fed down to, in this case, our belt production and other things. So this probably needs a bit of a tidy still, but I'm not going to mess with it. It works. It will do that eventually. If I just then run upwards, we have our oil. So you probably have seen this. The oil works brilliantly. I'm really glad I stuck with simple liquefaction, because goodness me, we produce an awful lot of it. And I think it's worked quite well, splitting it across the two. So we have basically an abundance. This is a land of plenty that then feeds through into our oil fuel cell production, which is working quite well. So I think this whole area here has worked pretty good, actually. Lots of cells left still, because there's a few things probably I want to make on this area. But let's just look at what we do have. So chip production, basic, but it works. Like, I've not run out of anything yet. And even when these things were running at full anger, I was still surprised at how quick they produce. So pretty good. I'm quite impressed with that. Red chips. I did think I went a bit too overboard on engines, which is this one. So again, we're producing a lot of engines. Probably didn't need to do that, but it looks rather nice. And then blue chip production. Again, I thought this might be a bottleneck. Not really. It's actually fine. And then we have our couple of power cells. We're not really using too much power. So if I look at our power, we're producing so much from solar panels, because obviously get a huge boost, that it's not really, well, we're not really using this, but it's there if we need it. And I put it within a cell. So you can see it's also got kind of a, you know, the design intent from the beginning was mini cells off the main line that you could then produce things. I would say this has been a roaring success. I'm quite proud of it. I like it. I think Vulcanus is still pretty tricky, though, because I don't want to kind of foundation everything. So when it comes to things like this, so I built, you know, tungsten ore kind of patch, I'm not doing it right. Don't worry. I know this is not done right. I just built it quickly and I haven't really sort of finished it yet. But what I'm doing here is just sort of picking, making sure that we are one car to one train or carriage trains work, and it's pretty good actually. I'm quite impressed with it. Low density structures again. I love this design. I kind of like this. So you've got kind of a double feedback. So you've got one way kind of raw things coming in this case plastic, and then coming out we have then stacked using stack inserters these low density structures. I like this. This is definitely something I'm going to do a bit more. I've actually reduced the beacons as well because we didn't need them, but we'll look at that. Maybe we put a power one in there, but again we don't need it, so it's all peachy. We moved also up to the tungsten plates. So is it plate? Should be bar really, shouldn't it? Anyway, so that's working quite nicely as well. Same design, but again, works really nice. I think when it comes to carbide, this has obviously worked the same design as well. So we're all quite nice. We're also making carbon as well, which I know is kind of stupid because you can just make it in the spaceships, but I just thought, why not? Let's make everything completely independent of anything in orbit. And this has worked quite well as well. So let's just then fly down. One of the things we are going to do, and I'll show you my preliminary sketches and drawings and designs, is a dual height railway. I saw something on Reddit that I thought was brilliant. And it was basically somebody had built a railway. So as we see here, you have a junction, for example, like that. And what they'd done is they'd built then another level above it. So you could actually have 4 lanes, 2 high, 2 low. Kind of like that. I think we're going to look at replicating that. So we go to metallurgical science packs, orange science as I refer to it, and it's working beautifully. I think I'm actually going to say this design is just about holding on because it's one tank of copper or molten copper is barely holding on. So 2 trains makes it 100k. It burns through it so quickly. I mean, I'll just give you an example of this. If I just fill up my inventory and let's just allow it to start producing again. So there we go, it's producing, and you'll see that, look how quickly that bottom right, look at that, it's reducing quick. So didn't quite work. There are so many workarounds for this. Like there's a lava pool right there. So honestly, I could make copper locally if I needed to, and maybe we'll do that. But I think at the moment, I'm sticking with it. I'm kind of liking the fact that you can do something a bit different. But yeah, it's it's definitely going to run out. At one point, we ran out of power, so I put another power circuit in. But then I went and basically placed all of these solar panels. So we've got all of these solar panels, all of these, and all of these. So, I mean, power's not going to be a problem for a while. It's really just when it's running at night, it started to struggle. So this is why we've put that in. Probably going to put batteries here. Again, no need at the moment because I've made thousands of them. And I'm probably going to put what do they call them? The drone units, the ones that there you go, flying robot frame. So probably do that, but again, not in any urgency because I'm not using drones exclusively much here. So I think we can probably get away with not doing that, in fact. Just repurpose some of our old base. So again, we have, the old base was basically here, it's gone. So anything like this, where we were sort of digging up sulfuric acid, you can do these wonderful loops off the main loop. So it just literally comes, fills up, then runs off again. I love that. That's real kind of autobahn design. Quite like that. And then we have our rocket. So this is just for delivering science packs. It's not particularly efficient. It's not particularly good. That's a great way to introduce it. It's just, bots are never a great idea, I think. And honestly, I regret it. But for now, it looks pretty. I mean, it's literally in a pool of lava. I like to think it's on top of this was a volcano when I landed. This was the volcano that spawns right next to the base. And I kind of like it. So I think for now, it stays. But we may move this to the slab. So I think there's plenty of room on slab 1 to maybe absorb some of that. But for now, I kind of liked it. It looked pretty, so we went with it. Massively over-engineered the storage of it. Wasn't really thinking. I'd had a few drinks, if I'm honest. But it looks quite good, so I quite like it. So, and again, we have our kind of our trains. These are delivering, huge amounts, 8,000. So pretty much my ship that takes that science to Nauvis only carries 4,000. So we're pretty good there, I think. And last things to show, I think really when it comes to things like the coal, there's so much more I think I could do with this space that I'm going to probably come back to it. But I think, dare I say it, I'm pretty much done with, with Vulcanus. The only thing I can see that I did want to do, and I'm really gutted I didn't do, was the legendary stuff. I kind of started it back up again, but I think I'm going to have to come back and do legendary mining drills because they're just desperately needed. The best I can produce is these rather rubbish, sort of level 2 uncommon. And I think we definitely need to look at that. Foundries did a bit better. So I actually got quite a few legendary foundries, quite a few rares as well. So I'm okay with the foundry bit because, again, other than the ship, which I don't think... Yes, we've got a couple of legendary foundries, but mostly epic. They'll do. I mean, that'll do for now. But I think this represents, I think, like a week or two's worth of effort producing quite a nice base. And I'm quite proud of it. I think it has a nice feel to it. It still keeps everything that's Vulcanus kind of going. So there is lava. I've not just paved over the whole thing. It's got, literally an evil layer in the middle of a lava pool that we're launching into space from. And I think it's pretty much good to go. With the only exception, I think I will come back and do this elevated rail. At the moment, everything's quite serene because everything's kind of maxed out. So there's not a huge amount of traffic, but at its height, there was a lot of delays at these four exchange, whatever you call them, 4 junctions. So much so, actually, we built a bypass, literally created a bypass. Particularly from here, it was getting a bit of a problem. But we may do that again. So I do want to explore basically this design here, which really just starts to kind of bring, potentially some kind of interesting augmentations to the existing railway I've got. Because if you look at Nauvis, this is a great example of, I mean, it's a nice city block design, but imagine if you could just then plonk on top of it another layer that basically sits, kind of like above it or around it. I think this could be, there's definitely something to it, and I'm quite excited. And I think the only problem will be these things, what do you call them, the junctions. They're going to be a problem because we have to figure out how to do that. But there's so many brilliant people on Reddit and designs that you can really just sort of get your inspiration from that. So I think that's pretty much us. And I think, I'm proud of what I produced. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful example of the kind of things you can do with this game. And as I empty my cargo, I think we're going to fly back to our Strangely Beige because, I mean, I can't stress anymore how much fun this has been. Like, this really rekindled my love for this game because for the first bits of it, you're like, oh God, I've got to get through. I've got to try and get science going. But once you've got over that, once you've kind of beaten the game almost, and not that I have, because I haven't even got to the Shattered Planet yet, you kind of get to a point where you're thinking, well, what do I do now? And I honestly think the best thing you can do is to go back and look at your bases. And I've got to admit, with Vulcanus, I've pretty much destroyed it. I've rebuilt it entirely. And I think it's, it's good to go. And now I think it's really time to kind of go and look at Gleba. I think I've been putting it off for a long time. Fulgora is going to be one that I do want to do because, again, nice base, it works, but I want this to be the base. And I want to almost kind of create a realm. I mean, Fulgora is going to be so much fun. I can't wait for it. But if I do Fulgora works. Gleba doesn't. This base is a pile of shuddering arse. And I think it just needs love. It needs tidying. It needs sorting. If you look at these areas here, I mean, I've never done the proper kind of build on the the terraforming because we've got so much wastage there, land not being able to farm upon. So it feels like it's probably time. But before we do, we'll go back to Nauvis and we'll load up. Nauvis is having a bit of a challenge at the moment. So I've been sending my bots. In fact, I can't remember where they are now. Let's just double check where they are. There they are. So I've now got quite a big bot army because the reality is it's getting a bit of a problem now. I found actually, I mean, let's have a look at pollution. I think, yeah, I mean, there you go. That's why. Pollution has now got to a point where everything is attacking me. So I'm tempted to just go around and find the edges of everything and basically destroy and just do like we did here, just build completely ridiculous defenses. I still haven't done any artillery, and I think that might be something. I mean, that's the original reason I went to Vulcanus, which is slightly ironic, but I do think it's time to potentially go and wipe out the anything within range using artillery. And it's the first run I've ever done where I've never used artillery. Let's just go and wipe. Oh no, I don't like it when it does this. There we go. So let's go and wipe these dudes out. And I think this might be what I do just between now and the next time you see. I think we're just going to go and basically wipe out bugs because it's just got so terrible. Oh my god, I hope they've all got ammo. They do look like they've got ammo, don't they? Oh, this is like terrible. This is just like ridiculous. Like, oh my god, literally almost lost them. I think I lost one. No. Oh, goodness me. There we go. So, good start. And I think this is kind of why I need to come back to Nauvis. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. So, I think the next thing is we're going to see the war on bugs. See you next time.